Hey y'all, welcome back to the Dancing Italian Urban Farm. Today we are preserving food. I had gone out into the garden and harvested a bunch of stuff after several days of rain. So for us, there was quite a bit that needed to come in. And I am just going to be processing it, I guess, to store in order to further process at a later date. I hope that made sense. Basically, I'm going to be putting stuff in the freezer in order to make sure that I have enough to run my canners later on. There you go. I have been inspired by the Three Rivers Every Bit Counts challenge that she does in August, where the idea is to preserve something every day, even if it's just something very small. Trying to preserve something every day is really not conducive to my particular schedule, but I've been doing what I can when I can. So the first thing that I'm doing here is I'm stringing my green beans. So I snap off the top and pull it down, snap off the bottom and pull it up to get rid of the strings. And then I just throw it in a zip top bag and put it in the freezer and freeze them the day that I pick them. That's probably the key thing for green beans is you want to try to process them the day that you pick them. So I had just gone out into the garden and picked these. I came in, I washed off the gunk if there was any gunk on them, as sometimes happens, and then I kind of dried them off a little bit, and then I snapped them to put them in the zip top bag to freeze. The next thing I'm going to do is take care of my cherry tomatoes that I picked. There were a ton of cherry tomatoes that needed to come in. Some of them had actually split. They weren't too bad. So I brought those in too, and I just throw those in a zip top bag and throw them in the freezer. Now, with larger tomato varieties like my Castelluto Florentinos, my Castelluto Genovese, my Amish Paste, those type tomatoes, Korean long, I'm trying to remember what I grew this year. Those I will core and score the bottom of them before I put them in the zip top bag. But with the cherry tomatoes, if you try to do that, you usually wind up just decimating the poor tomato. So I just drop those in the zip top bag and put them in the freezer. And then the next thing that I'm doing here is I'm actually going to process my peppers. Now this year I am growing some varieties of sweet bell peppers. I think I have a green and an orange and a red maybe. I can't remember. But I'm also growing Anaheims, Poblanos, and Tabasco peppers. The thought process there was that I wanted to make taco sauce. I know traditionally taco sauce is made with chili peppers, but I don't know. That's just what I decided after I had got these peppers. I was like, I'm going to try to make taco sauce or some sort of pepper sauce. So what I'm doing is I am taking the seeds and the ribs out of the peppers, and then I'm chopping them up and I'm putting them in a zip top bag and freezing them. And then when I have enough, I will make the sauce, and of course I'll take y'all along for that as well. But that's pretty much what it is. Now with the Tabasco peppers, they're so tiny that all I did was cut the stem part off and then just chop them up and put them in the bag. So there's going to be some heat to this sauce, but hopefully it won't be a whole lot. And any bell peppers that I get, a lot of them I give to my dad because he loves green bell peppers. So I will give those, to my dad. But some of the ones that he doesn't want, or if they've gotten a little too much color on them, I will just chop those and put those in this bag as well, because all they're going to do is add flavor to my sauce. So that's what I'm doing here, is I'm just chopping up these peppers. Okay, so now I'm going to feed my sourdough starter. Now, I typically store my sourdough starter in the refrigerator so I don't have to feed it every day. And I just feed it once a week. And I will feed it on Wednesday evening. So I normally get my sourdough starter out of the refrigerator a couple of hours before I feed it, just so it can come up to room temperature. And then I will feed it with 50 grams of flour and 50 grams of water. Now, on this particular evening, because I knew I wanted to make a double batch of sourdough bagels, spoiler, I made a triple batch, I fed it with 100 grams of water and 100 grams of flour. Now, I had to use bottled water only because I normally use filtered water from my water pitcher, but I had just filled it with water to filter. And then I decided, oh, let me feed my sourdough. So, anyway, I had to use bottled water. It's fine. But yeah, I put water in there. I like to do the water first and then stir up the starter just to kind of help loosen it up, so that I can mix the flour in and the flour will hydrate better that way. At least that's what I've found in doing sourdough. Like I said, I'm going to do 100 grams of water and 100 grams of flour. And then I'm going to put my cloth back on top of it with a rubber band, and I leave it sitting out overnight. And by Thursday morning, it is ready to use. It is bubbly and it is active and it has grown up the entire jar, and it is so ready to use on Thursday morning. And like I said, I made a triple batch of sourdough bagels this particular week with my sourdough starter. And the last thing that I did this particular day, which isn't really preserving food, but I'm including it in this video anyway, is I made some sweet tea. I use this pitcher to make my sweet tea, but when I store it in my refrigerator, I have a glass gallon jar that has a spigot on it. But I put a gallon bag in my pitcher, and then I will fill that with hot water. Not all the way, usually about halfway. I fill it with hot water, and I let it sit for 5 minutes. This is like my key to making sweet tea, is you only let it steep for 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, you take the tea bag out, and then you add your sugar. I add slightly more than a cup of sugar. It's really like a cup and a couple of tablespoons of sugar. But I don't add a whole lot of sugar. I don't like my sweet tea to be cloyingly sweet like some people do. I know, I'm a southern girl who doesn't like extra sweet tea. Oh well. Anyway, that's a 1/4 cup scoop, by the way, which is why you see me putting in 4 full scoops, and then just a little bit more of a scoop. And then I stir that until the sugar is dissolved. And I do it in the hot tea, so the sugar gets all the way dissolved in the tea. And then I will fill the rest of the pitcher with room temperature water. And then I put it in the refrigerator and let it cool. And then I will put it in my glass tea pitcher. And that's in the refrigerator. It's not really a pitcher. Like I said, it's got a spigot on it. So, but yeah, and that's everything that I did today to preserve food and feed my family. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure you give it a thumbs up. Click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Leave any comments or questions you have for us in the comment section, and we will see you in our next video. And please remember, grow where you are.